All right, folks, we finally made it. Laptop issues, everything, but we are here. I am live, and I'm with my co-host for the evening, Eric. He has his own YouTube channel, TKODDS. It's going to be great if you can speak Spanish. You're going to love it. If you can't speak Spanish, it's going to be tough. You're going to want the subtitles. But either way, I checked it out a little bit today, and I don't have that good of Spanish. So he's going to help me break down this card in English, though, and that'll be great. He'll be able to provide his perspective, and he's actually checked out a couple of fights that I have not. Eric, how are you doing tonight?
I'm doing great. Just to double check on the name, it's TK Odds. It's like TK and the odds, like live odds. That's the name.
It's got it. Not TKODDS. That makes way more sense. TK Odds.
Yeah, my slogan in Spanish is "We give knockout to the gambling houses."
That makes sense. Got you. Well, there we go. TK Odds is the name of the channel. It is in Spanish, so all of you Spanish speakers are going to love it. There are actually quite a few that check out my channel and just watch with the subtitles on. So there you go. Hopefully they branch over to you. Here we are. We're going to break down our Bellator Champion Series is what it's now called, apparently. I thought it was going to be Bellator 302. They're doing away with the numbers. We're now going to the Champion Series. This one is in Belfast. Which is interesting because it's now full of a bunch of Irish fighters. Unfortunately, a couple fell off, but we are full of Irish fighters. We aren't going to spend a ton of time on the amateur fight, Nate Kelly versus Jordan Elliott, so I'm going to just take that away real quick. Nate Kelly's supposed to win this fight. He is the Irish fighter in Belfast. He's the amateur local. You assume he's going to win. I'm not even going to put a Tapology prediction on that one, to be honest, but I'm going to say Nate Kelly probably wins. Eric, what do you think? Same?
Yeah, I saw his last fight on the PFL Europe event where his brother, I believe, Nathan Kelly, was headlining, and he was the opener, and he looked pretty dominant. I actually put money on him because I knew he was going to win for sure. The opponent that they're giving him doesn't tell me much, and based on what I saw from the last fight from Nate, I'm pretty sure he's going to win, and he's probably going to win under distance.
I would agree. Yeah, and I think this Elliott guy's on like a 3-fight losing streak, if I'm correct. So,
yeah,
it is what it is. It's one of those Bellator fights. So we'll move right on to another matchup that's actually very short notice. I believe it was announced today or very late last night. We have Alfie Davis and Oscar Owensworth, and I actually have not done any tape on Owensworth because I was at work all day and have not had the chance. So Eric's going to kick this one off. He actually watched a little bit. So he can give you the insight, and I'll go from there.
Honestly, I was just watching Oscar Owensworth match against Luis Monard. That was in PFL Europe. They were actually the first PFL Europe fight that they had last year. It was a tough fight for Oscar, even though he was. I think he eventually got the win. Because this guy, Monarch, was actually kind of clipping him against the fence. And he was kind of dominating the first round. But then in the second round, he kind of gassed. And Onsworth was kind of like taking over. And eventually he got the decision. And I'm pretty sure that's the reason why he got this late short notice type of a fight, because it was a split decision in favor of Oscar Owensworth. Based on the level of competition that I've seen from Alfie Davis, I don't think this should be a problem for him to pick up the victory. Alfie Davis is a very slick striker. He's got very dominant wins, and he has only lost to, let's say, big better level of competition. Alexander Shalaby was his last loss, and I don't know. I think this should be an easy 30-27 in the scorecards for me.
Yeah. So, like I said, without doing any tape, when I look at it, I look at Owensworth's record, and he's coming in with a pretty good win streak. But it's kind of like you said, the level of competition is different. Alfie Davis has been fighting some better guys over in Bellator. Only losing to some of the higher level guys over there, and he's also not taking the fight on like a day's notice, so that helps a lot. I think I would, if pressed, I'm obviously going to do a little more looking into this one, but I would say Alfie Davis is probably the one that's going to win this fight, being the one that obviously knew this fight was happening.
Yeah,
and like I said, I looked at Owensworth, and I just looked at his like record and everything since this fight was just announced. And he's got wins, and he's got a pretty good, like his last loss is clear back in 2020, and he's put together a pretty good string of wins since then and a draw. But I mean, I'm not recognizing a ton of names that he's getting wins over. So, and not that names really matter that much. It's just on short notice, if pressed and have to make a pick, I'll take Alfie Davis.
Yeah.
So makes sense. But we can move on to a more fun fight. This is actually one that I've struggled with a ton. It's Luke Trainer and Grant Neal. And for me, this one is really, really tough. Both guys only one loss. Luke Trainer is a giant human being, but I think Grant Neal's more skilled. But the problem is he's now fighting up at light heavyweight. And if I look at the height and reach advantage here, Luke Trainer is 6'6" with an 81-inch reach, as opposed to 5'11" with a 74-inch reach for Grant Neal. That is insane. So anything that Luke Trainer throws is going to be able to hit Grant Neal at such a distance away that you would imagine Trainer's going to be able to land first, land heavy, and probably if he gets this fight to the mat, just completely wrap up Grant Neal and control him. But that said, Grant Neal should be 10-0, honestly, if you ask me. So when I look back at Grant Neal's record, I remember watching his fight with Alex Polizzi and went to split, and I remember having a bet on Alex Polizzi and thinking the judges probably should have scored it for Neal. So for me, Grant Neal should be 10-0, if you ask me. But at the same time, this is moving up in weight class, and it's a big jump from 185 to 205. My slight lean right now is Luke Trainer with zero confidence on it, and I could definitely be swayed. Eric, do you have a strong take on this one?
Honestly, I gotta tell you, when I first started gambling, Luke Trainer was like one of my first wins as a gambler. He was fighting Sullivan Colley, who had all the hype in the world, being in the team of Ryan Bader and all this. And honestly, I think the size is gonna matter in this fight. And the only way I see this going is it's the only thing that kind of concerns me is the fact that Luke Trainer is a 100% finisher. He's got a 100% finishing rate, and he doesn't really know how to win a decision. That's why he lost against Simon Beyond, who's not like that good. I mean, Polizzi is a little better. If we take in comparison like the opponents that have defeated both of them, I would have to say that Polizzi is better than Simon Beyond. And honestly, from a gambling perspective, Luke Trainer is the underdog, and Grant Neal is somehow the favorite, even though, as you mentioned, he's a bit undersized for 205, and this is a 205 fight. But he has fought on 205 before. But again, from a gambling perspective, if I have to go with the underdog in a kind of like that wide money line, I'm gonna have to side with Luke Trainer, and because of the fact that they're on that side of the world, and he's a British guy, so he might get the win. I'm just not sure if he's gonna be able to get the finish, because Grant Neal is no joke, and it's probably gonna be a tough night at the office for both guys.
Yeah, and you mentioned from the gambling perspective, for me, I would pass on this one, honestly, because I don't know first off, I don't know what we're going to get from Grant Neal traveling across the world to fight the hometown guy up a weight class. But at the same time, like, I don't feel good enough in Grant Neal to get the win, but I also don't feel good enough in Luke Trainer as the underdog to put my money on him. I think this is a fight where you just watch and see how Grant Neal does at this weight class against somebody as big as Trainer. So for me, that's where I'm at.
I know what we should do on this one. We should crack a nice cold root beer.
You know it, my brother. We're cracking a root beer, and we're just going to enjoy this one. Look at this. Here we go. Artem's in the chat. Yes, Artem is the man. First off, everybody, if they don't listen to Artem's channel, Artem is one of my favorite people on YouTube. And the reason why is because Artem, first off, he's a cool guy. But second of all, he had me on his channel when I had like 100 subscribers or something like that, like nothing. And Artem's the man. He is in the chat. There we go. He is in the chat. That's awesome. So there we go. Someone say root beer. We got Donnie down there talking about the root beers. You know it, brother. Donnie is great. Donnie's got a root beer in hand. I know this already. That is absolutely fantastic. Oh, man. So, okay, so we got ourselves some root beers for that fight. You dang right, Eric. That's the plan.
That's right.
And one day, you are right, Artem. We're going to get you on. I know you keep canceling on me, brother, but I forgive you. I forgive you. We're going to make it happen. Okay, Eric. So we're going to roll on to the next one. I'm going to let you kick this one off because I'll keep giving you all the tough ones, my friend. So we've got Abraham Babley taking on Isaiah Pinson. Who do you have in this matchup and why?
I'm still kind of like swaying around. I think I got it last night, and I said it was gonna be Abraham Babley, probably be a finish. But the problem is that the other guy's also undefeated, and I don't have that much data on both of them. They're both 3-0, if I'm not mistaken. And it's one of those fights that I could also pass it. The line is a bit on the side of Abraham Babley, but not that wide. Because of the credentials that I've seen from both guys based on their records, I think Babley is a bit better. He's the only concern that I have is that he's kind of like a Daniel Cormier type of guy, like 5'10", but he's a heavyweight. He's like 255, something like that. And guys got 2 knockouts and just 1 decision. And I don't know, Isaiah Pinson, he's the opposite. He's a 6'3" guy. He's young too. They're both very young, still in their 20s. But I'm gonna have to go with Babley, just based on the fact that he's got KO power. I'm not really that much very, very low confidence on this one.
So I'm with you on that. Like the fact that both guys 3-0. It's tough to get a good gauge on it. We've got American Dream MMA in the chat. Because American Dream MMA is in the chat, maybe that means we should pick Isaiah Pinson. I don't know. I'm just throwing that out there just to be a goofball because Isaiah Pinson coming from the United States. We've got Babley being the local to the region, fighting out of the UK. And yeah, like when it comes down to like a matchup like this where it's kind of a toss up, you don't really know enough about either guy. I kind of side with the local is what I end up doing a lot of times, especially because Bellator typically does this thing where they want all the locals to win because they want to make a big impression in that area. So I'm going to side with Babley as well, but like it's another one just to pass on. I don't like this one as far as like a betting perspective. 2 guys 3-0. It's so hard to say. Neither of them have fought anybody like super high level. So we'll take Babley for the sake of a pick, and we'll move right into the next one. And we've got a matchup up here. Oh, wait, here we go. We got a bunch of guys coming in the chat. Look at that. We got Road Squatch down there throwing out some fun verbiage that I could not even actually pronounce. So there we go.
I think his quote in the Rey Mysterio entrance song, I think, Booyaka Booyaka 619. I think that's what they're saying.
Okay. Right on. There we go. We got Road Squatch quoting some songs. I love it. We got whatever that is, MMA. Vientiteries MMA. I'm gonna guess that is.
That's 23. 23 is MMA.
Oh, there you go. There you go. Look at you. See, this is why you're here. You're the man. You got the Spanish down. Or Spanish. I think it's Spanish. 23 in Spanish. Look at that. My guy. You know what? I actually could probably have guessed that if I had thought about Spanish. I do know how to count in Spanish. That's bad. I learned it in my high school Spanish 1 class. So there we go, guys. There we go. 23 in Spanish. So 23 MMA is what we're going to call that. All right, brother. Welcome to the chat. I'm glad you guys are here. This is so much fun. Okay. So we've got Nathan Kelly taking on Vikas Singh Rail. I think is how you say it. The names are tough to pronounce.
I got Spanish check, but no Hindi.
No, yeah, that's tough, dude. That is tough. I'm not usually so, and that's the thing. So, like with names. So I was just telling one of my buddies this earlier today. There are certain languages where the names I can get them great, and there are some languages, I struggle. And because I don't hear a lot of Indian names in MMA, you don't hear the announcer say it and stuff like that. It's hard to know how to pronounce those. So you don't get a lot of those. But I'm good with like the Russian names. I suck at Polish names, like I got a few of them, but we're getting through it, guys.
How about Portuguese names? How about Portuguese names?
Hit or miss. I know. I do know that like Spanish and Portuguese, you gotta make sure you got the J's and the R's are different because I know that in Portuguese, the R sounds like what I would think an H sounds like. And in Spanish, the J sounds like what I think an H would sound like. So that's how I remember that. So I'm okay on those, but I'm not good on it. But for Nathan Kelly versus we'll call him Vicus. We're gonna go Vicus. For Kelly versus Vicus.
Vicus Singh.
Vicus Singh. There you go. I think Nate Kelly probably gets this one done. And the reason why, first off, so Vicus has the Indian regional MMA scene is still kind of new. It's still fresh. It's still coming up. I do actually have an acquaintance over in that scene, Sumit Kumar. You might have seen him on the road to UFC. He actually trained with a couple of friends of mine here when he was in Omaha, Nebraska, where I'm from. He actually lived here for a short while. I got to see some of his amateur fights live. But the Indian regional MMA scene is pretty rough. There's not a lot of skilled fighters over there. Not yet. There will be. It's just new, right? And so you get a lot of guys that come over from either just like doing boxing or just a grappling art. And it's still kind of like MMA was, say, 20 years ago for us here. Maybe not 20, but like 15 years ago here in the United States, where, now everybody knows a little bit of everything. A lot of them there are still learning the other arts. So you get guys that come in and their record looks shoddy once they get out of that regional MMA over there in that Indian area. And Vicus Singh is not much different from that. So when you look at him, he's 12-7. And when you look at a lot of the guys he's fought, I'm just going to go through because I didn't memorize all their records. But like you look through, and a lot of them are still early in their career. His last loss, obviously in PFL, that's different. But like before that, he had a 9-3, good one. But after that, we're looking at 3-3, 0-0, 3-2, 0-1. So you're getting a lot of really, really young in their career guys, and that's okay. But it just takes a while to build up skills when the guys you're fighting aren't super challenging. For Nathan Kelly, on the other hand, the guy's 9-2, not a super high level of competition, but a higher level of competition, right? He's had fights in Bellator before. He's had fights in PFL before. The guys he's fighting have had more than 10 fights in a lot of his matchups. And that's something you want to see, even though they're not super high level guys. You take those skills for what they are. So Nathan Kelly is obviously the guy they want to win. I'm going to take Nathan Kelly for this one. I don't think that's crazy to say. Eric, do you have a take that isn't just, this guy's probably supposed to win? Maybe you can give me a little more information on
that. You basically took the whole idea out of my brain, because I was going to say that the fact that this guy is Hindi doesn't give me like any confidence of picking him to not even like making it to the final minute of the fight, because do you know a guy that goes by the name of Anshul Jubli?
Of course.
I actually picked him to win, and he was winning the first 2 rounds, and then he gassed, and a 10-6 mic breathing knocked him out on the 3rd round, which made me lose $20.
That sucks.
And that's the reason why I cannot pick Hindi guys in MMA fights. Not yet. It's still in developing. It's probably gonna take them maybe another 10 years to actually get like elite level type of fighters, because I haven't seen anybody from that side of the world actually made it that big. And I'm pretty sure the UFC was kind of like high on Anshul Jubli to make it big on that event. They took him to Abu Dhabi, and all the signs were there for him to like actually shine, and he crashed so bad. And Mike Breeden got cut from the UFC, even though he got that win. So,
did he miss weight in that fight? Breeden?
Sorry?
Didn't Breeden miss weight in that fight?
I don't know. I can't remember.
I think he might have. So I think it's why they still cut him even after he won. I think he missed weight.
Yeah.
But either way, it's still not a good look.
So this is a pretty safe bet for me. I think Nate Kelly is like -1,000 right now, in the last time I checked. So I'm probably gonna pick him inside the distance to win this fight, because this guy Vicus has a 100% losing rate, finishing losing rate. He has been KO 4 times and has been submitted 3 times. Has never been taken to a decision losing. So I think Nate Kelly is probably going to win this fight inside the distance.
Fair enough. I tend to agree. I tend to agree with that. And to on your point with Anshul Jubli, he's probably the best prospect out of India at this current moment. But like you said, there's still a long way to go. And like he's looking pretty good, but not there yet. But he got that path to the UFC. It worked out for him. But yeah, like it's just the country doesn't have that MMA base yet. So we got Off the Coast asking for a major lock for PFL people. Great. I mean, if you're counting Bellator and PFL as the same, which they are now, I assume you're talking this card, and we will get to that very soon. So hang in there. We'll be covering it. Interesting one by the American Dream MMA. Mikhail Alexeychuk used to fight at 205. He lost to Michel Pereira, who used to fight at 170. Yeah, exactly. Isn't that wild how that works? So weight classes don't necessarily mean everything, is kind of what I'm getting at. But
I
yeah,
mean,
it's, you know,
if you take it from the perspective of a fighter cutting weight to make 185, and the other guy not cutting weight at all and just making kind of like their natural weight, and Pereira going up based on the fact that he's so big, because that guy's big, like
it's huge.
all muscle, and his height, he's like 6'1", something like that. It was probably easier for him to just win the fight against a guy who was cutting weight and coming down from 205.
Yeah, and he was a small 205er. American Dream is right about that. So we can move on to the next one. We have a bit of a squash match in this one, so there it is. But it's Kieran Clark taking on Darius Mafi, I believe is how you pronounce that. I'll let you take this one away. You can go ahead and start this one off. Do you have any hot takes on this, or is it pretty much plain and simple?
Like every time Bellator goes to Ireland, they take Kieran Clark to the card, and he's probably one of the safest bets from the event. He's probably going to win this one via submission or inside the distance. Last time he fought, I had him in it was like a 2-leg parlay, and the guy got kicked in the face, but he was grounded, and I got scared because I had a lot of money on that one.
You and me both.
And I was like, oh my God, is he gonna get knocked out? No. And then the referee said he was grounded, and he said, no, okay, you have to take your time, sit back, and then just get back to the fight. The other guy, I mean, it seems like a pretty easy bet. He's been submitted, and I'm pretty sure Kieran is going to be able to submit him based on the level of BJJ that he has. So this one is another one pretty safe bet in my estimation. So Kieran Clark should get this one inside the distance.
Yeah, and something interesting. So when you look at his opponent, this Mafi fellow, you're like, oh, 4-1. Okay, that's not bad against an 8-0 guy. But then you look a little further. He's never beaten anybody with a winning record.
No.
That's a problem. And I mean, like I said, you fight who you fight. Like you can't. I mean, especially when you're on the regional scene, you can't really get a lot of good fights. You just take whoever you can get, but it's not a good sign. And obviously, Kieran Clark is a guy that Bellator loves, and they want to keep pushing this guy. I'm not sure if they plan on trying to get him to a title or something like that at some point. I don't know if he's that skill level. I don't think he's good enough for that at this point in his career. Maybe it gets better because he's had a few scares against fighters that he was set up to beat. But I do think he gets this one. He is a very good grappler. It's in the striking that he struggles a bit. And I do think that the Bellator matchmakers have taken their time to pick somebody that they think, okay, winning record on this guy, but he's a guy that can be beaten easy by Clark. So, yeah, I think in this one, I think Kieran Clark gets this one. I think he rolls here. And we can move on to a matchup that I actually have an actual bet on. And I'm going to give it away here for free on this live chat for everybody that tuned in. I did put it up on the Patreon. I believe it was yesterday. It might have been the day before. My days kind of run together. But we have James Gallagher taking on Leandro Higo. And let me tell you, I love Higo in this matchup. I got a bet on him. I think he wins this fight at a pretty high clip. Gallagher's not bad. Don't get me wrong. But I think he was better suited for 135, and I think at 145, the skill gap is not going to be something that he's going to be able to bridge because he's not going to have size. He's going to have to compete with these guys in a weight class that he's not going to be the taller guy in every matchup. And I think the skill from Higo is going to be just too much for him, especially if Higo can close that distance and start landing his shots on the feet, get the fight to the mat on his terms. because Gallagher's a good grappler, but I think if the fight gets to the mat on Higo's terms, he's got him. It's a lock. But on the feet, I think it's close. I think Higo's probably still the better striker in that too. Gallagher's he's gonna be quick, he's gonna be sharp, but Higo should win everywhere that this fight takes place. Eric, what do you think on this one?
If this fight was 135 pounds, I would pick Gallagher to win, but it's not. It's at 145 pounds. That's what kind of like gives me doubt. They're actually both going up a weight class because Higo used to be 135 pounder too, and you know what my doubt is with Gallagher is that he always under delivers whenever he's home, and he was a bit of a patchy mix in Ireland too, and that it's not a good look. Whenever you lose home, I wouldn't be shocked if he actually pulls it off this time. But it's kind of like tough to bet on him. He got knocked out by Ricky Bandejas a couple of years ago. Those were the two losses that he has. But also the fact that he's been so inactive over the past couple of years. Because I mean, when was the last time he fought? I got the
pulling it up right now. His last matchup was, I guess, only 7 months ago against James Gonzalez. I did forget all about that fight. He did fight 7 months ago against James Gonzalez. Before that, it was the Patchy Mix fight 2 years ago. So
that was a split decision. So
yes,
I mean, I don't know. I just as such an inactive guy, like it's tough for me to pick Gallagher to win fights because of the fact that I haven't seen him fight that much over the past 3-4 years. So I'm gonna go with Ego too, and probably a finish.
I think he subs him. Yeah. He's very quick, very slick on the ground. He's got a large arsenal of submissions that he can go to, and I think he's going to be quicker to the submissions than Gallagher. Like I said, though, Gallagher's tricky on the mat. I just don't think he's going to be able to keep up with Higo in those exchanges, and Higo's going to be the bigger fighter here. I know they both fought at bantamweight, but Higo's the bigger fighter by a decent margin, if I remember correctly, as far as I guess on height they're the same, but Higo's got a significant reach, 3.5 it says. But he's going to be, from what I can remember about the two, he's more filled out than Gallagher, because Gallagher always looks like a very frail fella. So I do think Higo's going to be more durable. I think he's going to be stronger. I think he's going to be quicker, and I think Gallagher's going to have just going to be a step behind in these exchanges. So because of that, Higo's the side. But we've got some folks in the chat here.
Sorry, but Vegas Red said, I haven't watched Gallagher in a long time.
He's right. You know what I mean? Like we said, we got that one 7 months ago, but even 7 months ago is a long time. It feels like it, especially because he's 7 months ago and then a little over 2 years ago. That's too far. I mean, for a guy that was a prospect at one point, he was the budget Conor McGregor, right? He was their knockoff version, the one that the one you get at the Dollar Tree instead of at the actual store. You know what I mean? He has skills. We got American Dream MMA saying he sucks. He has skills, but they're not to the level that that Bellator wanted them to be. And I think now they're going to use him as a stepping stone in Ireland.
Probably, yeah.
And he is pillow fisted. I will say that he does not hit very hard, and his chin is suspect after that knockout. But let's move on to another one. This is a good fight. We have Tim Wilde taking on Manuel Souza, and let's see. I think I started the last one, so I'll let you start this one. Let me know what you have on this one. This is a fun fight.
It's probably a very fun fight because they're both strikers, and they both want to kind of like keep it up, keep it on the feet. Team Wild, like that guy, probably made a lot of people lose money on that last fight against Mike Hamill, because Mike Hamill was kind of like just dominating the grappling, and Mike Hamill is all pressure, putting you against the cage, takedowns and everything. And Team Wild survived all that onslaught, and then in the third round comes out with a high kick. I think it was like a spinning heel kick, and knocks Mike Hamill out. He was I'm not sure how the live odds were at that time, but Mike Hamill was clearly winning rounds 1 and 2, and then the comeback comes from Team Wild. if you take a look at Team Wild's record, he has only 4 losses and a very extensive career that spans over more than 10 years. And the last time he lost was against none other than Brent Primus. And Brent Primus is championship caliber in terms of Bellator. He's a former champion, right? Has fought the best of the best. Michael Chandler just took Usman Nurmagomedov to a decision, and that says a lot. I don't know much about Manuel Souza. He's undefeated. Yeah, that's pretty good. He's young. He's 10 years younger than Ting Wild. That last fight against Paulo Henrique Laya, that was a split decision. He was struggling on that fight. He took him down several times. Like, instead of becoming a predominant striker, he became a grappler to dominate that fight. I watched that fight. That was at the beginning of last year, 2023, and it was a tough fight for Manuel. I don't know. It's just one of those things. Like lately, I've been doing my intake in picking winners for fights. It's the following. Sometimes when I do my pick, it's like, okay, this is the A side and this is the B side, but the B side has fought this and this world champion or former world champion or former title challenger, and those things kind of like give me confidence to pick the fighter, even though it's the B side. A couple of underdogs I've had hit over the past 2 months. We are in the underdog season lately, but I think Team Wild should get this one done, and I wouldn't be surprised if this happens inside the distance.
So I absolutely agree with you. In fact, I actually bet Tim. I'm giving away more free stuff that you can find over on the Patreon. That's patreon.com/138MMA. But okay. So the line has moved. You can still get good odds on Wild on FanDuel. No, just kidding. FanDuel. FanDuel has good odds. I do not have FanDuel, but FanDuel still has odds. The line has moved from where I got him originally, except for at FanDuel, where you can get him at -118. Tim Wild's winning this fight. From my understanding, I feel like he's been cashing tickets as an underdog for me for ages now, and people are finally catching up, and they got him at a slight favorite. I hate that he's a favorite because I always love getting the plus money on this guy. I had plus money on him against Hamill. Hamill was a decent size favorite. I think Wild might have been like +170 or something like that. It was an easy pick. Wild's a dog. And like you said, like, the dude's taking it to high-level competition and beating high-level competition. And Souza, he's a powerhouse. Don't get me wrong. Dude hits hard. He has skills both on the feet and in the grappling. But this is a big step up for him, and I don't think people are realizing how big of a step up for him this is going to be. And the line's way too close. I think Wild should be a pretty significant favorite, probably around -185 if you ask me. Give or take, a little bit, but I think Wild wins this one at a pretty high clip. So I'm glad we are on the same page there, because I wasn't sure, because the 10-0 undefeated prospect, a lot of people are picking him this week. Did you watch? So you watched the Hamill fight with Wild, right?
Yeah,
dude, that fight right there is the typical Tim Wild. Why you pick this guy? Because he's going to survive whatever they throw at him, and he just comes at you with everything and the kitchen sink. And he just overwhelms these guys after he survives whatever they're throwing. And I think that's going to be the same here.
He's a comeback fighter. Like, pretty much all the time, he kind of like loses the first 2 rounds, and somehow like he kind of comes back and starts winning the second round and the third round clearly, and then he takes a fight. That's why he has so many split. He has a draw against Alfie Davis. Like, you can imagine what happened in that fight. Like,
did you see that fight?
I think, but I don't remember that much.
It's a wild one. Go back and watch that one if you get the chance. That fight was crazy. Absolutely crazy fight from start to finish. And there's multiple times in that fight where you're like, oh, somebody's about to go to sleep. But yeah, that's a fantastic one. But we can move on to the next one, because this matchup here is another one that I might have a bet on, guys. I might have a bet on this one. Actually, I do. We've got Fabian Edwards and Aaron Jeffrey. Now, interesting. Let's see. I think you started off with the last one, so I'm gonna start this one off.
Go.
Fabian Edwards, Aaron Jeffrey. Aaron Jeffrey, people are down on him now because he lost to John Salter. Let me throw this at you, though. John Salter is really, really good, and people don't give John Salter enough credit, even though that was his retirement fight. It's not like he was going into that being like, hey, I'm done, I'm retiring, hanging him up after this. That the retirement kind of surprised a few people, if I remember correctly. John Salter's good. So that loss, I don't hold that against him too much. In this one here, Fabian Edwards, good fighter, big reach. He's got 79.5-inch reach. They're about the same height, but a big reach advantage for Edwards. And Edwards is a sniper at range. So Edwards could be picking him apart at range, but I think Aaron Jeffrey's going to be able to close distance at some point, and I think he's going to be able to start putting it on him in the pocket, putting him up against the cage, working in his grappling, working in his inside striking, inside the pocket striking. And I think that's what's going to get it done for Jeffrey in a decision. I think he's going to get 29-28 decision win over Fabian Edwards. I think Fabian Edwards picks up the first round, jabs him up at range, hits that 1-2, maybe lands a couple of head kicks that don't quite land, gets a lot of blocked head kicks, but they still kind of move him a bit. But I think Aaron Jeffrey's going to turn it up in round 2 and 3, and I think he's going to win 29-28 on the scorecards. He was a plus 115 underdog when I put a little sprinkle on him, not very much. I don't know what he's at right now. We're going to check. Oh, he's actually minus 105 right now in most books.
Yeah.
DraftKings, you can still get him at plus 105. So we beat some line movement over there on the Patreon, guys. But I think Jeffrey gets it done. We got 23 MMA down there. Jeffrey's dangerous, but picking Edwards, I understand that. I don't blame anybody for being on the Edwards side. Edwards is very good, but I'm just leaning Jeffrey, especially because I got him at plus money. What do you think, Eric?
I mean, the last time that I saw Aaron Jeffrey fighting, a lot of people were high on this Dalton Rossa guy, but it's one of those cases where I see, okay, let's see if this guy's a fraud checker. If Aaron Jeffrey can beat Dalton Rossa, he becomes a fraud checker. You know who became a fraud checker last Saturday? Christian Rodriguez. He became the official fraud checker of UFC. So Aaron Jeffrey is a very good fighter. His losses are actually against very good top-level competition. Brendan Allen, Sean Brady, Caio Ohio, and John Salter. And the problem that I have with Fabian Edwards is that he kind of lets fights go from him. I mean, he gave a tough outing to Johnny Evelyn, who's probably the best middleweight in the world right now, if you ask me. And those, I mean, if we do MMA math, Austin Vanderford beat Fabian Edwards, but Aaron Jeffrey knocked Austin Vanderford out. MMA doesn't work like that, but we all know that there is a possibility that we could see that Aaron Jeffrey is a bit better than Fabian Edwards, because Fabian Edwards kind of like fades in fights. I mean, somehow he pulled off that big upset against Mousasi, but Mousasi is aging, so I guess that's understandable. Tough one for me to pick. Aaron Jeffrey used to be an underdog yesterday. He was an underdog today. He's almost even money. I'm gonna pick Fabian Edwards because he's probably the lowest, probably a split decision, and he gets the nod because he's closer to home.
Okay,
but I wouldn't be surprised if Aaron Jeffrey pulls it off. I don't know. It's a dangerous fight.
It is. And if money keeps coming in on Jeffrey and he flips to be a moderate favorite if he gets to like minus 150 or something like that, that's a chance for me just to play the other side and get free money either way, because sometimes you got to take the free money. In fact, one of my New Year's resolutions this year was to take the free money whenever it comes. So I'll probably take the free money if it completely flips. But at the same time, I think Jeffrey's going to edge it out. You did mention the hometown or the home region guy in Edwards, and I do think that is something. Even if it's not like bad judging or anything, just the fact that you got to fly across the world does mess you up a little bit. Time zone differences. Your sleep schedule's off. You just flew on a plane. I don't know how early Aaron Jeffrey's getting over to Belfast. I'm sure it's not 3-4 weeks, so it messes with you.
Yeah, that happens to a lot of Asian fighters. Like most Asian fighters lose whenever they fly across the world to fight in the UFC most of the time, unless your name is Tatsuto Taira or someone like that. They don't lose, but the rest of
That's
them I
true.
see them lose them all the time because they fly so much.
Yeah, and I kind of do wonder, like, if those guys are fighting. Obviously, it's really tough when you're young in your career to get clear to where you're going, clear across the world, like 3-4 weeks ahead of time. But that seems to be the best strategy. Get there so far in advance that it feels normal to you. But like these guys just don't have the time to do that, unfortunately. But it is what it is. We've got another matchup coming up. It's a title fight. I love the new, I don't know if you've seen it, but the new Tapology layout where it shows like how many title defenses a person has and stuff on there. When you look at just the page, it's like a new update like today or maybe yesterday or something like that. It's pretty sweet. But we've got Patricio Pitbull defending his featherweight championship against Jeremy Kennedy. Both of these guys are flying across the world, so neither one has a hometown advantage. You can go ahead and take this one away. Patricio Pitbull versus Jeremy Kennedy. Who do you have?
Okay, just for the record, the original fights were supposed to be Jeremy Kennedy fighting James Gallagher. That was the original fight. So they kind of changed it and moved Jeremy Kennedy to a title fight against Pitbull. This one's tricky. I'm going to tell you why, because Pitbull is coming of a 2-fight losing streak. I didn't know this. I found out yesterday that he had lost last year in July against a rising fighter via knockout. That kind of shocked me because I mean you're the world champion and the more renowned, if you want, company in Bellator, but he was just defeated by a Japanese fighter. I don't remember his name right now, but this guy, Pitbull is a fighter that he's aging. He's 37. I met him in Rio last year. He's a good guy. Sometimes he's just kind of not reliable. And moving down a weight class to fight Sergio Pettis also didn't do him any favors. I had Pettis winning that fight. I even cashed money on him because I knew that weight cut was gonna just destroy Pitbull. And it's admirable that he takes risk. Like again, we just said it. He flew to the other side of the world to fight a Japanese guy. Got knocked out. It wasn't even like a TKO. Here it says KO punched. He got KO, not like a TKO that the referee got in. He got KO'd. It's the second time that he's been KO'd. And I mean, difficult to pick the challenger on this one. Jeremy Kennedy is not a bad fighter. He's got a win over Aaron Pico. I mean, and because of the whole technicality of the I can fight, and he was gonna fight like this. Like, yeah, I'm gonna fight like this. Aaron Pico fighting with one arm. I mean, only 3 losses against Adam Boric and Luis Rafael Arantino. I don't know who that is, but that was in PFL. And one of the greatest, Volkanovski.
No shame in that.
Yeah, no shame in that. I just it's difficult for me to pick against Pitbull in Bellator. Him being the champion, him having so much experience, and a Jeremy Kennedy that has I mean, one of those losses he bounced back and he got the revenge against Laurentino, but I'm not sure if the level of competition that Jeremy Kennedy has had in general terms, he has even fought similar guys to Patricio. He also fought Carvalho, Adam Boric. He lost to Adam Boric, and Pitbull beat Adam Boric. In general, I have to pick Pitbull to win this one. Maybe a decision. I don't know. This is tricky, but I have to go with the champion this one.
Yeah. So this one, I've really struggled with this one because I do think we're probably starting to see a slight decline in Pitbull. And there was a time about 5 years ago, I would say, where Max Holloway versus Patricio Pitbull would have been the greatest matchup ever to be made. Oh, real quick, Blood Bunny, good to see you in the chat. I forgot to shout you out, brother. I'm so happy you're here. Thanks for coming out. But there was a time when that would have been the greatest fight that could have been made in all of MMA. Unfortunately, we missed the chance. We missed that. Patricio's getting older now. I do think that drop down to 135 pounds really accelerated the decline for this man. And
yeah,
I mean, he's like, what, 36 years old now, something like that?
37.
37. Oh, wow. Jesus. 37. So he's up there, and he's been in some wars. I mean, sure, he usually comes out of those wars unscathed. I mean, he has a win over AJ McKee, which is fantastic. You know, like all of these things. He's beaten everybody in Bellator pretty much. And Patricio Pitbull hits harder than just about anybody, probably within a 3-division span in Bellator for sure. So Patricio Pitbull's a bad dude, but he's starting to decline. And Jeremy Kennedy is a tough ask. Like, this guy is good. I remember betting him in quite a few of his fights. In fact, as an underdog, I bet him in his last matchup, got that one. I didn't bet him against Pico, but I did bet him against Emmanuel Sanchez. I wish I bet him against Pico. He was a big underdog. But I do remember Jeremy Kennedy thinking, like, okay, Jeremy Kennedy can hang with these guys. Now, do I think this title shot is a good move? Because originally he was going to fight Gallagher and just beat the brakes off that poor guy. But I don't know. I don't think so. I think it would have been better off if he had gotten the original matchup. So I'm going to say Pitbull. But if the number was right, I could take Jeremy Kennedy. Like, what is the number on him right now? Plus 100, minus 105. Yeah, like I could be talked into taking Jeremy Kennedy, honestly. But I would need just a little bit more. Kiwi Brew. Kennedy's not a very trustworthy name lately. I hear you there, brother. I hear you there. I think part of me is having trouble letting go of the fact that Pitbull is probably not the same guy he was prior to making that 135-pound drop. Yeah. I will say, though, that Ryzen matchup, I believe it was like catch weight at like 155 pounds or something like that, or 154 pounds or like 100. It was like a weird number. It was 155, so it was in the 150s. Yeah, so it's just a lot of red flags at the end, like the last couple of fights for Patricio. So I'm gonna take him. But I'm just going to pass this. We're going to crack open some root beers in this one. We're going to kick our feet up on the coffee table, and we're going to enjoy this one. That's what we're going to do. I hope Donnie's still out there. Hopefully he's got some root beers left in the chat. But yeah, so that's what I'm thinking. But we got a main event coming up. The local Carl Moore takes on champion, or probably, everybody's kind of assumed champion, Corey Anderson. He's not necessarily the champion yet. Obviously, the belt is vacant because Vadim Nemkov left it up. But everybody kind of figured that it was Nemkov, Corey Anderson, and everybody else. However, Carl Moore has put together a pretty impressive career over here in Bellator. The guy's 12-2. He's looked pretty good as of late. Was he on 4-fight win streak? His last loss is clear back in 2018. Now, the problem for me with Carl Moore, yes, he's got a pretty impressive win streak, but that means he's had 4 fights since 2018, and it's 2024 right now. So that is not something you want to see. He did pick up the activity level because from 2018, he had 1 fight in 2019 and then nothing until 2022, and then 2 of them in 2023. His best win as of recent is over Alex Polizzi, if you ask me. He's got a win over Maciej Rozanski, which I would say is a good win, but not top level. I would say Alex Polizzi is a very good win because Alex Polizzi does not get enough credit. But you look on the other side, you got Corey Anderson, who was beating top-level guys over in the UFC, losing to some, but beating some top-level guys over in the UFC. Yes, he lost to Vadim Nemkov. Nemkov runs over both of these guys. What else is there to say? But the dude's got a win over Ryan Bader. He's got a win over, he's got wins over Glover Teixeira, for example. So I think it's just going to be a bit too big of a step up for Carl Moore. Could he pull it off? Yeah, but I don't think Corey Anderson's on the downhill slope yet. I think Corey Anderson's probably going to get it done. And I think I'm going to – Daz down here. What's the alcohol content in root beer? You're a funny man, Daz. No alcohol content in root beer. Looks like Kiwi followed that up for him. But, yeah, I'm going to say Corey Anderson. I think he's going to get it done. I think it's probably a decision. And I think he's going to have to go – I think he's going to put on the wrestling shoes, and I think he's going to have to get get some takedowns and do that, because I do think Carl Moore hits like a truck, and I think he could drop Corey Anderson in a round and make Anderson have to fight back. But what do you think, Eric? Who are you on in this one, and do you feel confident in either side?
My problem with Carl Moore is, as you mentioned, the level of competition that he's had. Like, I'm sorry if someone gets offended by this, but Bellator is the B side, the B company, the B league, and I mean, just take out the statistics. How many UFC fighters jumped over to Bellator and became world champions? Chris Cyborg, probably the second best ever. Rory McDonald, UFC champion at welterweight. Ryan Bader, he was a good fighter in UFC and then became a double champion and Grand Prix winner at Bellator. Phil Davis also became a world champion. Who else? Who else am I missing? I think it was Sergio Pettis. Also, UFC good UFC fighter, then became a world champion at Bellator. So the list goes on, and the reality is that Carl Moore hasn't fought the same level of competition as Corey Anderson. Corey Anderson is a more complete fighter. Has had tremendous wars and victories. He was actually winning that first fight against Vadim Nemkov, but sadly the head clash happened and he wasn't able to become the champion. But he was on his way to become the champion. And just by taking a look at the record and the amount of fights that Corey Anderson has against top level competition, former world champions, is a pretty easy pick for me to just know that Corey Anderson is going to spoil the party. If we take a look at how normally Corey Anderson loses, you're going to see a 4 KO losses on his record, and those are against guys who are just, power punchers. Jan Blachowicz, Ovin St. Preux just pull off one of the biggest opposites of his career, winning on last Saturday. Jimmy Manuwa, big power puncher. And, Jan Belante, he was not a very good fighter, but he was a power puncher. And those losses, against Hua was kind of like, local fighter winning. And Nemkov, he's just one of the best in the world right now. So if we take a look at how my friend Carl Moore wins, he only has 2 knockout wins. So he doesn't have that pop to actually win a fight in the way that normally Corey Anderson would lose a fight, which is via knockout, getting knocked out by a power puncher. And I don't see Carl Moore as a power puncher. I see him more as a grappler. He has 5 submission wins, so he's probably a grappler. He's probably a more ground type of fighter. He was struggling against Polisi in that fight. I even thought that Polisi might have pulled it off at that time, but they gave it to Carl Moore. So to me, this is a pretty cut and dry type of pick. Corey Anderson is going to win this fight, and he's going to become another UFC reject that jumped over to Bellator and became a world champion.
I think you're probably right about that. And so if you're just going like power for power, I do think Carl Moore hits pretty hard. But like you said, he doesn't have that one shot, put your lights out power. He was cracking Polisi a couple of times in that matchup. I do think also Polisi probably won. I also seem to have a soft spot for Alex Polisi. I don't know why, but I seem to bet him in a lot of fights, and then I get mad when he loses. But he also wins quite a few. So. But he fights close. But either way, so for Carl Moore, I do think, his grappling is how he wins a lot of his matchups. But a lot of times he'll hit somebody, crack them, and then be able to grapple with them. He gets a lot of club and subs. But I don't think he's going to be able to do that to Corey Anderson. And Grateful Dude says that Anderson's a parlay piece. I kind of agree. The odds are a little bit steep on him. He's like minus 400 or more. Yeah. DraftKings has him as minus 375. I wouldn't mind him as a parlay piece on DraftKings. When you start getting those like big minus 400s, it gets tough. But like, for example, if if you took on DraftKings, we'll say Corey Anderson minus 375, and you wanted to throw him together with, say, who do I like? That's like a good play here. What about definitely not Nathan Kelly? My goodness. What if you wanted to throw him with somebody like a Tim Wild or like a Leandro Higo just to get their line to plus money? I don't mind that at all because those guys are just slightly over, that plus money mark, and you could throw him with them, get it to nice even plus 100 or better. I think that's a good spot for a parlay with Corey Anderson. I think he's probably safe. And then if you win, if you're feeling pretty good about it, you always have the option if you get nervous to hedge out because you have a bet on the main event in a parlay. So I don't mind that at all. I don't think Carl Moore wins at a high clip, so I think it should be safe. But all in all, I will say, this card has more close fights on it than a lot of Bellator cards have in the past.
Totally.
So for that, I'm excited because we've got multiple fights where we were kind of like, I don't know. Like, for example, Pitbull Kennedy, good fight, close fight. I think Pitbull probably wins, but he's kind of going downhill. You know what I mean? Edwards Jeffrey, we were on opposite sides on that one. The only one we're on opposite sides. Another one that was close was the Babley Pinson, another one. Neil Trainer, another one that's close.
Yeah.
Like that's right there is already more close fights than most Bellator cards have. Usually they're big favorites, and you just parlay all the big favorites together, and then one of the underdogs upsets everybody. So I do like this card. I think it's going to be a fun card. I still don't know exactly where to watch it in the United States, actually. I don't think that they've announced that yet. They were going to announce it today, right? I don't remember.
Normally what they used to use was the YouTube channel for Showtime and for Bellator for the prelims.
Yep.
But then the main card used to be on Showtime.
But that's not around anymore for them.
That's not around anymore. I mean, because Showtime like kind of abandoned all combat sports, even boxing. They abandoned all that. So I don't know. I don't know where to watch it, honestly.
I have no clue. I assume the prelims are probably still on YouTube, so I'll be able to catch those there. But yeah, that's odd. But either way, let's see. What does the main card start? The main card. Oh man, all my bets are on the main card. Well, that sucks. I would have my bets on the prelims so I can at least get those out of the way.
Okay. Here it says that the U.S. broadcast for this event is going to. Yeah, I mean, in the topology page you can see it. It's going to be on Max.
What the heck's Max?
Max is what used to be HBO Max. Now it's just Max.
Oh, okay. So it's on HBO now. That's their new, what used to be HBO is their new broadcast. Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
and this out of the world, we have something called HBO Max. I'm not sure if you have that in the US too. HBO Max. It was
I don't really keep up on anything that doesn't have MMA on it. And prior to this, they didn't have MMA on it.
No, but it's becoming a thing. I mean, all streaming platforms are becoming like because combat sports are the best thing in the world. We all know that. Better than soccer, football, basketball, whatever. Combat sports is what matters right now because the gambling is a lot easier to get there. And Amazon Prime Video is now in a deal with PBC, with Premier Boxing Champions, and they're going to broadcast the Canelo fight, and everybody's talking about that in the boxing world. I also bet on boxing on my channel. It's a lot easier to win in boxing than MMA, but I love MMA, so I gotta bet anyway. And now Netflix is also going to broadcast the Jake Paul fight against Mike Tyson, and also since like a year ago, Amazon is also broadcasting one championship.
Yep.
So
that's the only time I ever used Amazon Prime for any sort of watching was just to watch one championship, and then I kind of fell off from them too because they stopped doing mostly MMA. It's pretty much like they'll have one MMA fight and then a bunch of other stuff, and I'm like,
kickboxing. Yeah, they do kickboxing and Muay Thai. Yeah, and those are scary to gamble. One guy could be winning, and then the other guy comes out with an elbow or something, and then boom, there goes your bet.
Yeah, there's a lot of just one-shot knockouts in that.
Yeah, crazy. I wouldn't bet on that. And also, if anybody watches Bare Knuckle is just crazy. Because maybe the favorite is winning, but then the guy hits them with a bare knuckle. That's the name. And there's a ugly cut, and then the
They
doctor
wave
comes
it
out,
off.
and they wave it off because of the cut, and then you lose because the favorite has an ugly cut on the forehead. It's crazy to bet on those fights.
So all my friends of the channel, anybody that bet him, my good friend, my real life good friend, in fact, like buddies, like we talk to each other regularly. Brandon Meyer just fought at BKFC, Bare Knuckle Fighting Championships in Miami, and he was a plus 500 underdog and came through and won a pretty clear decision. Fantastic. I'm super stoked for it. So anybody that tailed that, I threw a bet on him, of course. I didn't tell everybody to bet him. I didn't put it on my official bets because, let's be honest, I was biased as heck. It's my actual friend. So Brandon Meyer is the man, though. Check out all of his stuff. That guy's doing big things. He's 40 years old, just had a hip replacement, and then he goes and wins a bare knuckle fight. Like, that's amazing. Like, who does that at 40, gets their hip replaced? I'm not joking, and goes and wins a bare knuckle fight. This man is awesome. He's doing big things. So, go check out all of his things. I don't know where the heck. I mean, he's on Facebook. He's an old guy. He's not even that. He acts like an old guy, but so that's
how old are you? If I may ask, I mean, I think it's illegal to ask a people person for their age. How old are you?
Me, I'm 32.
32. Okay, I thought you were younger.
I look much younger, and the fact that I have a mohawk makes me feel like I'm younger. So I'm trying to recapture my youth. So. Yeah, everybody always guesses like 26 or something.
Yeah, I thought they were 28. I thought you were 28.
There you go. See, hey, there you go. So far, that's the oldest anybody's ever guessed. I must be finally looking my age. That's hilarious. Yeah, man, 32. I'm much older than I look. So, but yeah, like you can still keep doing it into the later years if you just take care of your body. Apparently, getting your hip replaced is a big deal because everybody was down on Brandon on my channel. I put a big thing out. His fight before that for BKFC, and he didn't perform super well. Yeah, the hip needed to go, right? And that was kind of the downfall. He didn't have as much movement. He wasn't able to throw his hip when he threw his cross. So he is 2-1 in BKFC. But now with this brand new hip, we can be betting on my boy again. So there we go. But we've covered the whole card. We've done the darn thing. We've had a great chat. Everybody in the chat is awesome. They've been super, super busy. Like we couldn't even keep up with everybody's stuff. So I appreciate everybody for coming out. But Eric, tell everybody where they can find you on all the platforms. Tell them what you got coming up. And obviously, if they speak Spanish, that is definitely where they need to go.
Okay, so my mostly what I use is Instagram. It's at TK Odds, like technical knock odds, because we knocked the odds out on my account. That's at TK Odds on YouTube. You can find me there too. Yes, most of the time I put subtitles in English for those of you who don't speak Spanish. I'm thinking about maybe we could open up a channel on in English too for people to see it too. I mean, I'm as you can see, I'm capable of to speak and do the same type of analysis in English because I'm an English teacher actually.
That's amazing.
Yeah, I've been speaking English since I was 10 years old. But yeah, you can find me there on Instagram, on YouTube also. I should actually open a Twitter account because I don't use Twitter that much. You know what I use Twitter for? I use Twitter to get the results on boxing fights who are on this like weird places like Denmark or I don't know, Russia. Some of those places they don't televise those things on this side of the world. So when I bet
on those.
Yes, of course, and it's pretty easy because most of the time those are like local shows. Like here's a tip for those of you who are gamblers and who like to make easy money.
We're getting the good stuff now, guys.
Most of the boxing shows are like super like biased, super like one-sided type of events in most countries, in Canada, in I don't know, Brazil, in Germany, in Spain. If you want to make like super easy money, whenever you see that a local fighter from any country in the world is fighting a Panamanian fighter, like that's my country, and I say this with a lot of regret, just bet on the guy that's not from Panama because my people is always losing, and it's like super easy money. Like a couple of weeks ago, two guys from my country were fighting all over on the other side of the world in Spain, and the other one I think was in Nicaragua, and they were both fighting local fighters. And I was like, okay, the guys from my country are going to lose. I'm just going to throw bets. This is a parlay, a 2-leg parlay on those other guys. I threw like, I don't know, $100, and it made me like almost even money. It was super easy to make money with that. So whenever you see a couple of fights and you check that they're in the same event and the fighters are local, especially the main event, just bet on the guy that's local, because in boxing what they do is that they promote those guys super easy, like they make them look good, so that maybe in the future they're like, oh yeah, let's throw this guy against someone on in America, for example, and they fly the guy and then he loses. That's what happens most of the time in boxing. For those of you who are gamblers, boxing is like super easy to win fights. Most of the time the lines are like extremely wide, but what you do is that you bet on the knockout for the local fighter if you see that the guy has a lot of pop and a lot of knockouts on the record. That's a tip that I'm gonna throw for you guys.
That's actually great information, because I don't bet boxing. So I stopped watching boxing when I started watching MMA pretty much religiously. I watched boxing back when I was like in elementary school and stuff, and I enjoyed it. But then, you discover MMA and you're like, man, this boxing stuff is I mean, all they can do is punch, So, but if I can win money on it, I'll win money on it. You know what I mean?
That's the deal. I mean, I'm the same. I have been watching boxing since I was, I don't know, maybe 7 or 8 years old with my father, and he will always tell me like, yeah, this is the younger guy, he's gonna win, and he will always win. It was like always a younger guy, the up and comer, the new star. The aging guy always loses, like kind of like the new guard, old girl type of thing. And when I started gambling, sometimes I kind of like, lost, because this is MMA and anything can happen. And then most of the cards are on Saturdays, and Saturdays are like in the afternoon. For me, at least, they're in the afternoon. And sometimes I kind of like lost, and then I would go like, okay, what's next on the gambling app, and then I would see that there were several boxing fights, and I would go like, okay, so how can I get my money back? And then I started like making analysis on boxing, and then I put money. My actual first parlay, I won. The actual first parlay that I won was in boxing, was with Team Sue in an Australian card that they were showing on I think it was on Showtime. And then I was crazy when I started doing this gambling thing. I got a little crazy, and I grabbed like, I think it was like $400, and I did a parlay. And I said, all these guys are gonna win because they're locals, and then this guy is gonna win by a knockout. And then I put that, and it gave me the same amount of money. So I went home with $800, and that was the first time that I did a parlay, was with boxing, not with MMA. And I kind of like understood like, okay, so boxing is easier to win. It's not that entertaining. I get it. It's just punching. And one of the reasons why it's easy is because there's only one way to win, which is like, punching. Because whenever in MMA you have more tools. Whenever there's a guy that's like this elite grappler, if he doesn't have like pop or if he's not a good striker, he's gonna struggle with a striker that has a good like takedown defense, and he's not gonna be able to take him down for 15 minutes. In boxing, it's different. Like if you can keep up with my rhythm and my reactions and my pop, you're gonna lose the fight. So whenever a fight starts, you just have to see like the first 3-4 rounds. And if it's a 12-round fight, you go like, okay, so this guy's losing, he's not gonna win. I'm just gonna throw money on a live bet. And I even have an app in my country that you can actually bet live on boxing fights, and they give you the option like, okay, this guy's gonna win via knockout, this guy's gonna win via decision. If you see that the other guy is getting beat up, You just go before the line goes like too wide. Just throw your money on the bet that the guy's gonna get knocked out, or they're just gonna wave it off on the stool or something like that. It's super easy to make money on boxing. It's not as entertaining. It's not as fun as MMA. We love MMA. The first time that I saw MMA, I saw the guy get clipped. A guy get clipped. I don't know who it was. And then instead of a 10 count, and then the referee goes like, "Yeah, you have to go to the corner. I gotta make the 1, 2, 3." No, the guy started, punching the guy on the ground. I was like, "Okay, this is so much fun. It's great." But it's a lot riskier than winning money with boxing.
Yeah, you definitely don't see fights just change on a dime as often as you do in MMA with boxing. Like with boxing, most of the time, it's either a close fight all the way through, one guy gets ahead and the other guy doesn't. But like you don't see a lot of just like one guy's winning the fight and then all of a sudden it just changes like that. You get that a lot in MMA. You don't get that a lot in boxing. And it's like you said, it's because it's pretty easy to dictate, as you're watching it, oh, who is the better boxer? Well, this guy's winning the boxing match and they don't have anything else they can do. If plan A is all they have boxing as their plan. So if both guys are boxing and one guy's a better boxer, they're probably going to win.
Yeah.
Usually.
And the promoters and the matchmakers, they make it on purpose to make their guy look good. I mean, like for example, I didn't know much about boxing and the promotions and all that stuff. I only knew that I mean, there's UFC, Bellator, PFL, one, okay. But in boxing, it's pretty much the same. Like every boxing show, it's promoted by a company. There's Matchroom Boxing, which is promoted by Eddie Hearn. There's PBC, which is promoted by Al Heyman. There is a Top Rank, which is promoted by Bob Arum. And those three guys, they don't make their guys, their fighters. The fighters are assigned by them. They don't make them look bad. They just kind of like handpick like who's going to be the opponent. And what they do is that they make the guy look so good and so dominant that, between those are the three big promotions that I can name up right now: Top Rank, PBC, and Matchroom. What the purpose of it is just to make their guys look good, so that eventually they get like a big fight with big pay-per-view and all that stuff. And you get, like, for example, now there's going to be Dimitri Vivo, the guy who beat Canelo. He's from Matchroom, and he's going to fight Artur Beterbiev. They're both undefeated, and Artur Beterbiev is from Top Rank. So that's where they do the money, like, because there's two different and there's also Golden Boy Promotions from Oscar De La Hoya. And now there's gonna be like a fight in April with Devin Haney, he's from Matchroom, and Ryan Garcia, who is from Golden Boy. So it's kind of like if you took, this is a fantasy thing that's not gonna happen. You take the best Bellator guy against the best UFC guy, and you match them together. What happened the last time that we had this? It was in Saudi Arabia with the PFL versus Bellator thing.
Yeah.
We could see clearly that PFL is like the C side company, because most of the Bellator guys won. That's what will happen, because it's different. So in boxing, that's what they do. They try to promote the guys as much as possible, so that eventually they get like this big pay-per-view, this big money fight that everybody wants to watch, because it's like, okay, the best from this company against the best from this other company. It's different.
So you can kind of take all the guys that are, promoted by that promoter that are fighting on that card and parlay all them together, and you're probably going to get a win. Yeah.
It's tricky, because sometimes there's like one upset, but it's not all the time. But here's the other take that you guys can take. Whenever that happens, whenever you see a line in boxing, and then you check the line, and you got in your nose like, okay, this is an underdog, this is a favorite, okay, and then you actually see the fight, and you see the underdog won. What you do is that you just grab the rest of the favorites in the card, you throw all the money that you have, and you're not gonna lose, because there's rarely two upsets in boxing in the same event. It just doesn't happen. And this is another take that I'm gonna give you guys. I'm giving away a lot here. Eddie Hearn, Matchroom Boxing, they are experts on making one super favorite lose, and then if you had a parlay with all the favorites winning, you lost. So what they do in the next fight is that they rebook the fight, and then the guy who was the favorite now is the underdog, and this time he wins somehow. So I'm not saying it's fixed. I'm just saying that it's what statistically happens. In those, it's with Matchroom Boxing. Remember, Matchroom Boxing, you can watch that on the Zone. If you have the Zone, you watch Matchroom there. That's what they do, because last year they didn't do it once. They did it like 5 times. There was this huge, like, minus 900 favorite gets knocked out by this like a 600 plus 600 underdog. And then the rematch happened this year. It was like a Mexican guy knocking out some guy from South Africa, I believe. And then they did the fight in Mexico. The rematch was in Mexico. And now the Mexican guy who had pulled off the opposite was the favorite. And somehow he wasn't able to win. He was just not able to win, not able to connect any significant punches, and he got knocked out in the.
Seems convenient.
Yeah, it's super convenient. So that's the thing that you can write down there. Whenever you see an upset in Matchroom, I'm 100% sure that all the rest of
the rest are winning.
Are winning. The favorites are winning. So no problem.
Okay, so one more thing, and then we're getting out of here because it is getting late, and I've been at the gym for like 14 hours now. But so I've been asked this by everybody that came through the gym today. Kiwi Brew just threw it out there. So Jake Paul's easy money, right? I think Jake Paul wins it easy just for the fact that Mike Tyson is like 57 years old. Like, I think he's got like a minute and a half window where maybe if he lands a big heavy shot, sure, but you know, you get a 10 count to stand back up, and I think Paul's going to be able to stand back up. I don't think he's going to be put completely unconscious. And at 57 years old, you just don't take a punch like you used to, especially when you've been knocked out multiple times. But you are the boxing guy. You know the boxing much better than I do. Do you think I'm accurate in my assessment, or do you think I'm missing something?
Yeah, what happens with Jake Paul is that he's got all this marketing behind him, and he's not gonna lose to a 58 years old, almost 58 years old guy. I mean, he's Mike Tyson. He's great, but we have to face the facts. What was his name? I forgot his name.
Kiwi Brew.
Kiwi Brew. Yeah, we have to face the facts, bro. Jake Paul, he's going up. I mean, he's fighting old guys, MMA guys. Now he can say that he fights real boxers because he knocked out 2 guys who, I mean, nobody's, but they were boxers. So he's not just a Disney guy anymore. He's an actual boxer who trains, who, you know, makes, you know, the whole camp, everything, and he's going to probably win this fight. Do I think he's gonna KO Mike Tyson? He could. Mike Tyson has been KO'd. The last time he fought professional, I think he got KO'd. I believe.
I would assume so.
Yeah. So I think Jake Paul gets it done. He's not gonna lose this fight. One thing that kind of concerns me is I'm not sure if this is a professional fight or just an exhibition fight. Because if you remember, a couple of years ago, his brother Logan, he had an exhibition fight against Floyd Mayweather where they went to a decision, and nobody got knocked out, and there were no judges. So there was no way to say, right, okay, you won or you won, because it wasn't like a sanctioned fight. So honestly, I think there's a chance that they could go to distance, and Jake Paul could look good, you know. And at the end of the day, nobody's going to lose because it's just an exhibition match, unless there's a knockout.
It has yet to be classified as an exhibition or a pro bout. I just Googled it. Professor Chaos is asking what the weight class is. I believe it's at heavyweight. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Yep. I don't think Tyson's making anything under heavyweight.
No.
Yeah. And why would you? I mean, at that point. So, but it hasn't been classified yet. So if they do make it unless it has been, but it doesn't, according to what Google said, it doesn't. Let's see. There's also an article here that I saw from like 22 hours ago that says it will not be an exhibition fight, but I don't know if that's just a quote from somebody. I didn't get to read the whole article.
Okay.
But if it's an actual pro bout, that's going to be wild that Jake Paul's going to have a knockout win over Mike Tyson, because he's probably getting a knockout.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Vitor Belfast fought Evander Holyfield, and Evander Holyfield was just, oh my gosh, he was like 60, I think. I think he's older than Mike Tyson. He's older. It's actually older.
Yeah, because Holyfield was older, kind of towards the end of his career too.
He's 61. He's 61.
Yeah. So he's a bit older too. There's very few guys that can just turn back the clock. I guess George Foreman kind of did, but he might be the only one. Most guys, like as you get older, your chin just goes. And I think, unfortunately, that's what we're going to see. I've been telling everybody today, I said, I understand that Mike Tyson that we all remember is much better than the Jake Paul we see today. He's much better. The Mike Tyson we remember from like 1990, you know what I mean, is like the guy that would destroy Jake Paul from today. But the Mike Tyson in 2024 does not beat this young 20-something-year-old athletic, decent boxer, because Tyson just isn't going to have the chin. I don't think he is. And like, I'm not a boxing guy anymore. I used to watch boxing, but yeah, I think Jake Paul's probably going to knock him out, unfortunately. I have no idea what the odds are or anything, but you know,
the last time that Mike Tyson actually fought professionally was 2005, and he retired in the stool in the 6th round against some guy called Kevin McBride. So, and before that, he was KO'd by Danny Williams. So yeah, so I don't see how this is going to do Mike Tyson any favors.
None. But he's probably gonna get paid.
Yeah, it's just a money fight. Like Francis. What's your intake on that short career? I mean, I have nothing against Francis, honestly. I think he's a great guy. He's doing something to prove a point. But I just saw the pay-per-view numbers on the Anthony Joshua fight, and it was like 4,000 buys, something like that. I mean, and he got taken to school by Anthony Joshua. So I was never going to bet against Anthony Joshua in a boxing fight. Yeah,
that's just you never bet on the MMA fighter in a boxing fight. That is something that you got to know. The only way you can ever like bridge that gap is when it's something like bare knuckle, for example, because then you got like, sure, it's boxing rules kind of, but like it's a little grittier than boxing. It can't be as pretty, and sometimes the MMA fighters can just outdog the boxing guys. But other than that, if it's a boxing match with boxing gloves on, you bet the boxer over the MMA fighter 9 times out of 10. So, but with that, let's get out of here. I got to get some dinner in me.
Same. my wife is with dinner ready, and she's a big fan of yours. So I would actually appreciate if you could send greetings for her. Her name is Kelly. She's a big fan of yours. Kelly.
Awesome. Kelly, hey, thanks for being a fan. I appreciate you tuning in, Kelly. I hope that you guys enjoy your dinner tonight, and thank you for being a fan of 138 MMA. I'll give a shout out to anybody that wants one. Eric, thank you so much for coming on. Everybody, check out his stuff. TK Odds on YouTube. Instagram is mostly where you're going to want to find him, but YouTube is also there. He does have a YouTube channel. Go check it out. Enjoy that, especially if you speak Spanish. He's going to put the subtitles on. He's got all that. I know YouTube auto-generates subtitles, but they're not usually very good.
Yeah.
So, it is what it is. But, guys, thank you so much for tuning in. We will see you all down